Now, there are two ways to live an overflowing life, and I want you to see the first way, and it's this: to live by grace. To live by grace. He says, the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you. He said, I want grace to be with you. That's the last thing he said in this letter to the church at Philippi. And we know grace is the undeserved favor, but it's also the divine enablement. And grace enables us in four ways. I want you to see this. One, grace enables giving. Grace enables giving. That's letter A. Grace enables giving. He says, not because I desired a gift. The gift is doma, an offering. I didn't expect an offering. I didn't expect a donation. But he said, I received it unexpectedly. Like, hey, this was something God worked in your life to do. Now, when God works in our lives to give someone something, it is certainly the work of grace. It's not the work of our own selfishness. It's the work of grace. And Tim Keller put it this way: God's grace to us is all sufficient. Therefore, we are called to give freely without reserve, and grace transforms our giving from an obligation to a joyous expression of love. Now, listen, I have not always been there, where I'm like, I get to give. Yes. Like I'm giving an opportunity. I have an opportunity to give. I haven't always been that joyous about it. But I will tell you that I have learned from some Christians who are further down their journey of grace that giving is not an obligation. It is absolutely an opportunity. Now, let me tell you a little story. When I was in, I was in Fontana, and I was working with a church that had lost their pastor. In fact, their pastor put a note on the pulpit the Sunday before and had said, I have to leave, I have to move. He moved out of their area. They didn't know where he went. So they called the Bible college that I was graduating from, and they said, hey, is there anyone who can preach for us the next few weeks? And I preached a few weeks. I was right before I was getting married. Right after I got married, they asked me to be their pastor. About 7 or 8 folks, and they were over 70 and 80 years old, and wonderful folks. And I was trying to use their own cue card for their service. I mean, I wanted just to come in and try to be a blessing and help. And as their new pastor, I was very nervous, and I was trying to focus on the message. And one particular service, I accidentally, and it was an accident, I forgot to take the offering. And I didn't realize it until a lady, her name was Ruth, walked up to me afterwards. And you know how when someone's walking up to you, you know, oh, this is not going to be a friendly conversation. And she walked up to me, and listen, you have to know Ruth. She was the kindest, most gentle woman you will ever meet. And she looked at me and she said, Pastor, don't ever rob me of an opportunity to express my love for God through giving. I said, yes, ma'am. Won't happen ever again. Now, she did give in the offering that day, but what she wanted me to know is that she didn't have to give. She looked at it as an opportunity to give. I learned something that day. That when she was walking into church, she was walking in so grateful all God had done for her, and she wanted to express her love back to God.